Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from Mama Elephant, and I'm so excited about the September 2018 Mama Elephant release. This is their big anniversary release, and I'm going to use a couple of new products from the release with a couple of older Mama Elephant products. This is the Santa's Sleigh stamps and coordinating dies, which you can see makes the most adorable scenes. There's a couple of different Santas in this than these little dog reindeer, a sleigh, a sign, and tons of cute greetings, gift packages, and everything. We're going to start with another new product from the release. This is the Galactic cover. And what's fantastic is this makes great outer space scenes, but it also makes a great snowy scene. So I die cut it from just some regular smooth white cardstock. I've masked off the sides. I decided I wanted to keep a little white border around my card. Instantly adds a frame without actually having to add another piece of paper. And I'm inking it up with Faded Jeans and Black Soot Distress Oxide inks. Because I decided to ink on smooth white cardstock and I'm using a pretty heavy hand, I'm using some colors that don't really blend naturally together that well. Distress Oxides works a little easier on the smooth white cardstock than Distress inks. If you wanted a little bit easier time blending no matter what paper or no matter which inks you use, whether it's Distress or Distress Oxide, I would suggest a watercolor cardstock, Bristol Smooth cardstock. That's what I generally use. You'll just have a little bit easier time. But I think it's really great to show that you can achieve this look on smooth white cardstock. So if that's all you've got on hand, if you're a big alcohol ink colorer like I am with Copics or Spectrums, whatever it might be, this works great too, and so we all have a lot of this cardstock on hand. I inked up these two colors. I'm going to leave my masks in place, and to add even more of that snowy feel to my background without actually having to add all the little dots myself, I've watered down some Picket Fence Distress paint, and then I'm flicking it all over the panel with a small paintbrush. And I used a pretty heavy hand. I want this to really kind of look like this snowy sky that Santa's up above the clouds. Just really, really fun little scene. This is a very heavy coloring heavy card. I guess I can't talk. I'm sorry. Lots of images colored. But I think it's really effective. And part of building an effective scene for me is building the background. Now, I took the previously released Landscape Trio. These have been out for years. I die cut one from vellum and one from white. Because this is the exact same border, if I layer them with that vellum border going the right way, they line up perfectly. For me, I don't really like mine to be so matchy-matchy. So I simply flipped my vellum over, and I'm using the back side of it, and I'm layering these two, and these are going to be layered across the bottom of the scene. So really, with this card, even though it gives the illusion of a white frame, and then the inked starry, snowy background, and then the two clouds, there's very minimal layers. All of our dimension is really achieved with just about 3 layers and some foam adhesive, which I absolutely love. I'm always a big fan of trying to find unique ways to get that layered look without tons of layers. Now, before I get too into this, I know already that this white cloud along the bottom edge of my card is going to be the perfect landing spot for my sentiment. However, I really wanted to use Dear Santa, Define Good from the Santa Sleigh stamp set, and it's stacked one on top of another instead of a long straight line like a lot of the other greetings. Well, I didn't really think that it worked in that form on my card. So you could cut these apart and stamp them if you wanted to, or you can do what I did, and I masked off one line at a time, stamped them one line at a time. Using a stamp positioner makes this super easy. I would just mask off part of it with my Post-it tape, ink it up with black ink, and then remove the Post-it tape, and stamp the greeting. So my greeting is Dear Santa, Define Good, down there along the bottom edge. You can see I stamped my images from the Santa Sleigh stamp set, but I wanted to customize that North Pole sign. And if you want to customize yours, check out your Little Santa agenda or Little Reindeer agenda from last year. They have teeny tiny sentiments that fit the sign perfectly, and I used Merry Christmas from the Little Santa agenda for my North Pole sign. Time to color all of these fun little guys in. I have listed the colors I'm using across the top of the screen. If at any time you're curious exactly which colors I'm using, you can find the colors here. I stuck to a pretty traditional palette with the night sky and all of the reds and things that I was using. I really felt like the traditional palette just really worked for this design, but you could definitely go as crazy and as wild as you want to with this. I think there's so many fun ways to design. What I really love is that this sleigh and the little dog reindeer are a nice substantial size. It really fits the card nicely, I guess, if that makes sense. So if you're looking for some images that will fill the front of your card, this set definitely fulfills that. I really love it. I tried to stick to coloring everything, like the face. I did the face and then I skipped to do everything that was red. And so I went ahead and did Santa's hat, his outfit, his sleigh, the North Pole sign or the Merry Christmas sign, and I'm using our 35, 37, and 39 for this. I tried to stick to everything that was going to be a certain color. I colored it once. The patch on the toy bag, that's also red. And then I skipped over to my greens. This is G82, 94, and 99. A nice deeper green, I would say. It's not so much a bright green. I wanted something that really goes nicely with these reds. These are two color combinations that I've really loved, not only for holiday, but for fall as well. So we'll color in the toy sack next. I kind of just tried to move in little areas at a time. I didn't really finish a complete image before moving on to the next one. This gives you a good idea of how my mind works when I'm coloring. I skip around a lot. It's kind of whatever I feel like coloring at the time. Some days I feel like coloring one whole image before moving on to the next. And some days it's just kind of scatterbrained. What do I color first? And this was kind of one of those cards because there were so many things that I love to color. I love coloring Christmas images anyway. And so this was just one of those I couldn't wait to color. And for whatever reason, I love those North Pole signs like this. I think they're so cute. Every time a company comes out with them, I am drawn to it and love to use it. I have no idea what it is about them, but of course, when I got this stamp set, I was like, no matter what, I'm using that stamp on my card. So just a little bit of my crazy there, I guess, today. So here are our cute little dog reindeer. I think this is clever and really adorable, and I love that there is more than one size. So we've got our two that are kind of flying, and then we've got the one that hangs out on the Santa sack. I think it's darling, just really clever. These are super fun illustrations, really fun to color. I'm using E40, 43, 44, and 47 for my reindeer with a little pink cheek with R20. Little dot detail on my bigger dog here too. The antlers, E40 and 43, I just used my two lightest colors. And I decided to make this guy Rudolph, so he's going to have a little red nose. His collar, his bell collar around his neck is in shades of red. Let's go ahead and color in our other dogs as well while we're coloring. I tended to not go quite as dark for the two smaller ones. They're a lot smaller images. I didn't feel like they probably needed or required quite as much shading as the larger. Now I went with a different brown color combo for the sign to mix it up. This is E55 and E57. And I love that little snow on the top of the sign. We're going to add a little color to that too. We're going to add a little color to the white section on the pole just to give it some nice shadowing and shading. You can see I skipped back to my other little dog. No rhyme or reason. And I used the same color combination on all three. This keeps it kind of easy, kind of lessens the having to go find more markers or anything like that. For me, keeping it minimal while still having lots and lots of detail was kind of key. For the snow, I used G00, and I did not color the whole thing in. I just kind of outlined a little bit of it to add some color. Then I'm going to just skip around with the colors I've used. So my green color combo, my red color combo for the gift packages. And then I thought I need some variety. So I did grab a blue color combination and a yellow-red color combination just to pull in a little bit more and add just another little bit of color. The blue coordinates nicely back to the sky, and the yellow is always just a nice little addition, I think, to the card. It's pretty small. It's only in a couple little places, but I really like that as well. And it's a little bit deeper. It's not a super bright, sunshiny yellow. It's a yellow-red, so it's got a little bit of that red hint to it. Now, once I get all of my images colored in, and we've got quite a few here, I am going to die cut these with the coordinating Santa's sleigh dies. I used a little Post-it tape to tape my dies in place to run them through my die cutting machine quickly and easily. And then I'm going to pop all of these little guys out, and we can start putting our card together. Now, in order to do that, I decided to pop up the cloud border along the back side. So the white cloud border is attached directly to the vellum cloud border, and then I hid my foam adhesive back behind the part where the white is covering it up. And that's going to give that illusion of clouds, which I really love. Plus, it's going to provide a great little place to tuck in our sign and a couple of presents. Just a great way to add that depth and dimension. Now, all of those little die cut holes in our Galactic background, you can see they're showing black right now because it's laying on a black mat. We are going to put this whole panel on a white side fold card base, so those are all going to show white. So it really helps with the snowy feel of the card. Let's start with our North Pole sign. I'm going to tuck that into or in between my two cloud borders. Now, because I've attached the clouds with foam adhesive, if I attached everything to the sky flat, I think it would not look as good. So what I decided to do was attach my Santa sleigh, the reindeer with foam adhesive. The one thing this stamp set doesn't have is reins, and it definitely looks like Santa's holding on to the reins, that the little dog quote unquote reindeer are flying. And so I knew all along I wanted to add some thin twine. You could use embroidery floss or really thin string or something like that, crochet thread to create reins and glue them in place, which is what we'll do here in a little bit after we get everything glued down. I'm going to tuck some presents around my Merry Christmas sign, and then we're going to tuck our fourth one over to the left of the sentiment. It just kind of frames up our sentiment, fills in that area along the bottom edge without overwhelming it. And these were attached with glue dots. I do want to mention that the Merry Christmas sign, I did put one foam adhesive square in the top right corner of that sign because it is popped up on that layer. The reindeer are going to be slightly overlapping Not a ton, just a little bit. And I like to cut up my foam adhesive squares to fit my die cut pieces if needed. So my foam adhesive sheets often look cut up like that. Once we have everything in place, it's my favorite part, which is the final details. And for me, oftentimes anymore, that involves really simple things that don't add a ton of dimension. So we start with the black jelly roll pen, adding detail to the nose for the small reindeer. The one also on the Santa sack. We take a white pen and add highlight detail, little white dots to cheeks, highlights throughout the design here and there. I tried not to go too heavy with it. I didn't feel like it needed a ton. Just a few little touches adds a lot to the overall design. Once we have that, we're going to do a couple of my other favorite things, which is adding some Nuvo crystal drops and all of that. Let's go ahead and attach our panel to a white side fold card base. That way you can really see what it's going to look like with all those little die cut holes in the Galactic background. Now any adhesive that's behind that is going to be kind of sticky. I didn't worry about it today because I'm going to actually fill in all those little holes with Nuvo crystal drops and white blizzard. It's going to give a sparkly extra layer to the snowy sky. So we inked our sky, we splattered it with paint, and now we're adding Nuvo crystal drops and white blizzard. And that's going to give little sparkly iridescent snowfall throughout the design. And it's pretty minimal. There are some little starbursts throughout the design that aren't actually die cut all the way through, so you don't have to add anything there, and there's just a few little holes here and there, and it's really just kind of the perfect amount. Now I have some really thin twine. I don't even know where I got this. I've had it forever. This is kind of a hemp color, and what I'm going to do is kind of glue it in place and hold it down with acrylic blocks until it dries. And this was just to get a more natural feel to those reins. So I put a little drop of glue by Santa's hands and I glued it down. Then I'm going to kind of put another little drop of glue on the first reindeer and I'm going to hold that down with another acrylic block. And I'll finish with the third. And again, hold it down with an acrylic block. Anything heavy will work. Acrylic blocks are something that I have handy, and so I oftentimes will use them because they just are right there and they work to secure stuff until the glue is dry. And then I let this sit until the glue is completely dry. In fact, I ran and I had something else to do and I came back later. It probably wouldn't take that long, but I really wanted to make sure that it was completely secure. Now where all of those little dabs of glue are, I ended up putting some Nuvo crystal drops in pale gold just to kind of finish it off and give it a finished look. I also added those pale gold Nuvo crystal drops to the bells on the reindeer's collar. And it's pretty small embellishment, but it does really add a lot. Some glossy accents for Rudolph's nose and also the pole. And in fact, I did the entire pole, not just the top. That's going to give it an awesome little glossy finish. Santa's glasses as well. I don't think I showed it in the video, but his spectacles, I went ahead and added a little drop to that. Then Nuvo crystal drops and white blizzard again for the snow on the top of the Merry Christmas sign, because that's going to dry and have a fantastic iridescent finish, which is my favorite. And then I should have tested this on a piece of scrap paper. It's the snow marker, and it will make a big mess if not. So I usually try to put it on scrap paper first. So let's just dab that up. I can fix that, and I left it in the video to show you. I'm going to dab my snow marker onto the brim of Santa's hat, the collar around his neck, and then kind of around his waist, just like the trim on his jacket. And I'm just doing a little dabbing motion with that. The great thing about the snow marker is when you take a heat tool to this and heat this up, it puffs up. So it gives amazing texture. Look at that. You can see it come to life. I just think it's really cute and fun, and especially great for snow or anything you want texture on, like the trim on his outfit. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Santa's Sleigh scene card featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.